I moved to Dubai as a 24-year-old entrepreneur 2 years ago, and a lot of people have asked me, why did you move to Dubai over all the other options in the world? And now that it's been 2 years since that decision, a lot of people are asking whether I still like living here. So in this video, I'm gonna go through all of the reasons why I decided to move to Dubai specifically as a location independent entrepreneur, where I could literally move anywhere else in the world. And I will also tell you at the end whether all of these reasons have ended up coming true. So essentially my situation is that I was living in London. My business had just taken off. I had quit my job as a software engineer, and I realized that I don't want to live in the UK for various reasons. The taxes were crazy. I didn't feel like I was getting anything for them. The weather was terrible, everything like that. So basically I was in a situation where I was definitely going to leave UK. So I started looking at the world at other places that I could move to, and for various reasons I ended up deciding on Dubai. So essentially the way I was going about this decision is that I had this spreadsheet with all the criteria that I wanted my ideal city that I moved to have. So essentially I ran this exercise where if I could design a city from scratch with all the characteristics that I want, like weather, the people, the taxes, the cost and everything, what would that city look like? And then I looked at the actual cities in the world and the countries in the world. It didn't have to be a city, I guess, on which ones match these criteria the best. And so now I want to go through this criteria so you can understand exactly why for my particular situation, at least my theory was that Dubai made the most sense. And of course, this is only my opinion. You might have a different opinion. No place is right for every single situation, but I'm just going to tell you why I decided to go there. Well, criteria number 0 is that it had to be feasible. So there's obviously many places in the world that might match my criteria, that might be somewhere where I want to live, but if it's not actually feasible to go there, then obviously that's not going to be a place that I can consider. So UAE stood out straight away because it's very easy to move to the UAE. It's a very simple process. It's a very quick process. Now I ended up making a lot of mistakes on the way and it ended up being a bit more difficult than I thought, but basically it was very feasible to go there. I didn't need to have like a crazy amount of wealth because at the time I didn't have that much wealth yet. I didn't have that many assets or any of the residency programs that require real estate purchase or investment or something really were out of the picture. And it go somewhere where just by setting up a business and giving myself a visa via that business, I could basically live there. And in the UAE, you can do that. And by the way, if you're looking to move to the UAE, and then these days we have a company where we help people move to the UAE. It's essentially a full service package where we help you exit your current country's tax system as well as set up legally in the UAE. We will set up your business for you, get your residence visa for you, get your bank accounts for you, and everything like that. We have helped more than 400 people successfully move to the UAE, and not even one of those people has been unhappy with the service, because the service is, in my opinion, the best in the market, because we've literally looked at what all the competitors do and picked all the best parts. And through this experience of doing this 400 times, we basically don't have to make any mistakes anymore, because any mistakes we might have made have already happened in the past. And the price for all of this is in line with all the competitors, even though our views, our experience is much better than the competitors. So if you're interested in that service, if you're interested in moving to the UAE, you can book a free discovery call in the first link down below in the description, where we can explain the process to you and you can ask any questions that you have before you even commit to anything. So first link down below in the description. So now getting into the actual criteria. The first criteria was weather. Now, people think that I moved to the UAE just to save on taxes. And that was a big part. I will discuss that in a moment. But the number one factor was actually weather. To me, it's just a tremendous quality of life improvement to be able to live in sunny, warm weather all year round. I'm from Finland originally, with horrible weather. Then I lived in the UK for years with also horrible weather, slightly less horrible than Finland. But basically, from childhood, the one thing that I always dreamt of was not even money. It was not like getting rich, even though I also dreamt about that. The main thing that I wanted is just to live in a warm, sunny place. That was the number one thing. So out of all the places that exist in the world, I would basically cross off any countries, any cities that don't have good weather. And good weather doesn't just mean the temperatures. It means specifically that it's sunny. Like, I just love seeing sunshine. I don't like being in overcast conditions. I've even been to places that are quite warm, like Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, for example, and I didn't like it. Specifically because while it is warm, it's also very overcast and cloudy a lot of time. So I literally looked at as a quantifiable metric on Wikipedia. There's a page where you can look at the average sunshine hours across a year. In Dubai, the UAE, basically the Middle East, you can see that they have some of the highest sunshine hours out of any place in the world. So that really worked well for me. Obviously, the summers are a bit too hot. Like, I don't want to be here in the summers, but my plan from the get-go was not to set up just in one place for the entire time, but rather have like 2 or 3 bases around the world, because I basically knew that I like so many places and I'm so interested in so many places that I don't think I just want to have one home. So the Dubai and the UAE really worked great as my winter base. And then in the summer, I can explore around and find some other homes to call home. Criteria number 2 was finances. So seeing as my business and all my businesses are such that I can earn the same amount of money completely regardless of where I live. So my income is completely untied from my location. So in terms of finances and building wealth, that only leaves 2 variables: cost of living and taxes. So out of all the places in the world, I wanted to find a place with very low taxes. And it wasn't like it has to be 0. I was willing to pay like 10%, even up to 20% if you offered very good value. In the UK, I was paying 40, 45%, and I was basically getting absolutely nothing in return. I was never using the public healthcare. Even if I used healthcare, I would just use private healthcare anyway. The place is not safe. The UK, if you look at statistics, is not even in the top half out of every country in the world when it comes to safety. There's countries in Central Africa that are statistically safer than UK and London. Infrastructure, not good. If I had kids in the future, I would not use the public schools anyway. So for me, the taxes I was paying was all literally just complete waste. I was getting absolutely nothing in return. So if there was a place where I could pay much less, and in the case of the UAE, for example, get much more actually in return, the infrastructure here is better, the safety is better, etc., then it was kind of a no-brainer for me to do that, given how much having that extra money coming in that I can invest myself and decide how to use myself, given how much that actually increases my quality of life through the financial security that I'm able to build. Absolute no-brainer. And then obviously in terms of cost of living, Dubai was not one of the cheapest, but at the level where my income was at the time already, taxes was basically by far the bigger factor in terms of the finances. So financially, the UAE was probably also the best bet out of any place for my situation. The only other option I was considering is doing the digital nomad thing, where you're sort of a tax resident of nowhere. But for the situation that I was in, that was really not going to work that well. I kind of like the simplicity of having my business and my banking and my main residence all being in one place. In the UAE, that also really worked well. You get great business infrastructure, great banking, easy 0% tax residence. If I did the digital nomad thing, I would have had to figure out where to get banking, and I didn't really have enough assets to like open non-resident accounts in Singapore or something like that. I could have used the USLC, which I also use. But basically for my situation, I preferred the simplicity of just having one main base and then using that base as a base for my business, my banking, my finances, and then traveling around in the summer when I'm not in the UAE. Then criteria number 3 was perhaps the most subjective one, and that is vibe. Now, one of the bigger determinants of where you're gonna like to live is just where do you enjoy the vibe? Where do you like the feeling of the place? And this is gonna be inherently subjective. Some people really don't like the vibe of Dubai. They don't like the vibe of the UAE. They say, oh, it's just a concrete jungle, it's in the desert. But for me, I found it super, super cool that they've built this super modern city, like in one of the most uninhabitable places in the world. Like, how cool is it that humans with just wealth and work have built this massive modern city in the middle of the desert? Like, to me, that's just super, super cool. So I really loved the vibe of Dubai based on what I had seen, like videos and pictures. The whole like waterfront living in JBR, Dubai Marina, like it really, really appealed to me. And I am generally a city person, so being a concrete jungle is not really an issue for me. I basically grew up in the forest in Finland, and my entire life there, I could not wait to leave. So being a city outside of nature really was not a big deal for me. To me, the futuristic vibe of like very modern cities, modern architecture, that's much more my vibe. So for all these reasons, the vibe of Dubai really matched with something that I like, but obviously this is going to be inherently subjective. Being in places that are going in the right direction, that was also a really big deal for me, because if I'm going to like sort of base myself in one place, I don't want to just look at where is it now now, I want to look at where is it going in the future. In 5 years, do I think that this place is going to be better or worse than it is now? In the case of the UAE, it is almost certainly going to be better in 5 years. Obviously, no one can predict the future, but if I just look at probabilistically, looking at their plans, what they're doing, how competent the government is, I really have faith in this place. Now, time will tell whether I'm right or wrong on that one. But if I looked at anywhere in the West, good chance it's going to be worse. So I kind of don't like that. The next factor was network. So given that I was in this situation, that I was leaving the UK, I was leaving sort of my old life behind there. Nothing against my old friends there or anything like that, obviously. But given I was now becoming an entrepreneur, I had become an entrepreneur, I knew that I was going to have to build a new network of more like-minded people to myself at some point anyway. So given I was leaving and I was doing this hard reset, I thought to myself, like, I might as well go to the place where I'm most likely to build the kind of connections that I want to build. Now, when I arrived in Dubai, I knew 0 people, I knew absolutely no one, but that was also going to be the case pretty much anywhere I went to. So I was like, given I'm starting over anyway, what is the place that is going to most likely attract the kinds of people that I want to network with? So online business owners, content creators, things like that. And Dubai simply made a lot of sense. It is the #1 destination for millionaires to move out of any country in the world right now, which also includes the kind of people that I want to meet, entrepreneurs, etc. So it really made a lot of sense for that. And since I built a great network of now business partners as well and friends who do similar things to me. Number 5 is safety. And having lived in Dubai, I've even more realized how much I appreciate this safety. Like, just when I'm here, there's no worry about anything happening. Obviously, it's not like a 0 crime or anything like that, but statistically, it's one of the safest places in the entire world, because here they actually protect the law-abiding citizens rather than in the West, where they protect the 1% of people that are breaking the laws, like, oh, the human rights of the criminals. So I very, very appreciate being in a place where crime is taken seriously, offenders are punished, people are deported if they don't behave, which makes it a great place to be for everyone else who actually follows the laws. I can just focus on myself, focus on my own life without having to worry about all these things. And number 6, we had love. So in which place would I be most likely to be able to find a girlfriend? Now, this is the one place where Dubai had a red tick in my little spreadsheet. I didn't think that this was nearly the best place for a guy today, and I still think that to this day, but I was sort of willing to sacrifice on this because I knew that I was only going to spend like half the year here, and then in the summer I was going to travel to other places like Southeast Asia that I knew were very good for dating from a guy's perspective. So the plan was sort of, okay, when I'm in Dubai, I don't worry about dating. Then when I go to Asia in the summer, that's when I try to date, find a girlfriend. And funnily enough, that's exactly what happened. My current girlfriend is from Indonesia, and now she's here with me in Dubai. So that plan worked out pretty well in the end. So overall, I would say all of my sort of hypotheses and predictions ended up happening. A few other things. The one thing I didn't realize I would appreciate about Dubai, but that I appreciate so much, is just the stability and the sort of political stability of the place. Like in here, there is no political drama. There are no like crazy agendas. People are not telling you how to live. They're not up at arms at each other. When I now look at the West from afar, I look at what is happening in the US, what is happening in the UK, every single day I'm reminded I'm so glad to be here in Dubai where we don't have any of this drama. Everyone's just living in harmony. Everyone's just focusing on their own lives here. Everyone here to make it, to work, to build their business. They're not worrying about like telling like, oh, you should think this, you should do evil because you do this. People don't care. When you're in Dubai, in the UAE, if you just worry about your own life, you just mind your own business, no one really cares what you do. So this sort of peacefulness has been a super underrated benefit of living in Dubai. On the negative side, the traffic is actually very bad. It's got very bad recently because there's so many people coming here that the infrastructure simply cannot keep up with it. And I do see that sometimes the city's design, like I just feel like they haven't thought everything through when they design all these new areas. Like if you miss a turn, you miss an exit, it can be like a 50-minute loop just to get back to the same place. And it can be very annoying to drive here. I'm still debating whether I ever want to own a car here just because of how stressful driving here is. So that is one thing. The other thing is the summer heat. Like even sort of towards the tail end of the summer, like September, October, it can still be very hot. Like you don't really want to be outside. It's kind of exhausting. So there are sort of these nitpicky things that I don't like about Dubai. But overall, on the balance, it is still by far the best place to be for someone like me. So specifically for builder type people. So people who are not super poor, not super rich, but sort of on the way to getting rich. So specifically for people who want to get rich, this is pretty much the optimal place. No really better place out there, at least right now, in my opinion. Who knows, maybe that will change in 5 years. And if it does, obviously I can just leave again. It's not like this is some forever decision that I have to stay here forever. But that is my assessment. Those were the reasons why I moved to Dubai over other places. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you're interested again in moving to Dubai and you want to understand what the process actually is, I mentioned that it's very easy. There are certain things that you need to understand, that you need to familiarize yourself with before you go through the process. So if you're interested in that process, I made actually a full guide right here on exactly every single step when it comes to moving to Dubai. So watch that video next if you're interested, and I will see you in the next one.